Hi there, this is a video about the teaching on the coming times on the planet. And, well, for a long time now, for about roughly about close to 6,000 years, God has been very patient with, uh, with humanity, well, after the flood, but um, there comes a time at the very end where God's patience runs out. And so I wanted to go over that period of time because the reason for that is that God is ultimately righteous and holy. And so he has to do away with, or he has to punish evil. He has to because he's perfectly righteous. And so he's holding that for a specific period in time while people have the chance to turn from evil and ultimately to choose where they spend eternity when they die. You know, will you spend eternity with God or without God? And to spend eternity with God, you have to be perfect. You have to be righteous because you can't you can't have sin and be around God because you'll die. Because God is perfect. Sin can't be around him, it can't be near him. So the only way to do that is to be perfect. And how are you perfect? Well, the Bible describes that as there's a gospel, and in the Old Testament there were sacrifices, and you had to make those sacrifices, and those atoned for your sins, for your evil, so that you wouldn't die. And that system was done away with in the first century when the temple got destroyed in Israel, and Jesus came and became the final sacrifice for sins forever, as described in the Old Testament. So the only way to be saved forever is to believe that Jesus is your sacrifice and all of your sins were punished on him. And he did that willingly. He did that in the book of John, chapter 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes on him shall not perish but have everlasting life." So God loved everyone, the entire world, so much, not just some people, but the entire world so much that he came in the world to die for everyone. But the only way to receive that atonement is to believe it, because you can reject it. You don't. It's not forced upon you. It's your own personal choice whether you accept that or you can reject it. You don't want to be with God forever. That's your choice. But in doing so, if you reject that, then you're going to be punished for your sins because you have to be, because God doesn't let sin go unpunished. But anyway, so after his patience has run out, there comes a time, and Christians believe it's in the very near future. I think most religions do, even Islam and Judaism believes that. But let's go over let's go over a description of that time where when God's patience runs out. Let's look at Amos, the book of Amos in the Old Testament, chapter 5 and verse 16. Therefore the Lord, the God of hosts, the Lord saith thus, wailing shall be in all streets, and they shall say in all the highways, Alas, alas, and they shall call the husbandmen to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing. And in all vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord! To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, or went into the house, and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it? That is a short description of when God's patience runs out. And let's go to another description. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, and starting off in verse 6. Here's some more descriptions of it. Howl, yea, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, bold with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the gold wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens and the earth, and shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. Then it shall be as the chased roe, and as the sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee every one into his own land. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, their wives ravished. So it's not a good time, and it's not a time you want to be in. And how can you avoid that? Well, you have to be perfect. So you have to have no sins to pay for. And if you accept the sacrifice that Jesus made, then you are going to be rescued out of this. You're going to be removed from the earth before this comes. And that's also described in the Bible. But after the people of faith are removed and the earth is punished, then goodness comes. The times that everybody has always been waiting for, the times of no more sickness and pain and evil, all the evil that the world deals with currently, the crime, the lawlessness, it will be no more, because Jesus is coming back at the end of that. It's a 7-year period, and Jesus is coming back to reign upon the earth. And that'll be a time of perfect righteousness. There will no longer be sin rampant upon the earth. It'll be very minimal, if hardly at any at all. I mean, it's going to be a time, because there's going to be perfect righteousness. The reason there's not perfect righteousness right now is because, well, one, people have an evil inclination, and two, more importantly, is the leaders of this world are evil. They're wicked, so they don't apply righteousness like they should, right? If we had righteous leaders throughout the nations, throughout states and towns, cities, evil would be far less. But, you know, that's not the case. And so that's got to all be dealt with before the world can be a place that God intends for. You know, basically back to the Garden of Eden, where it was God and then Adam and Eve. Well, this is going to be a Garden of Eden with a lot more people. It's going to be God with everyone that's saved. But if you're a sinner, if you have sins that aren't paid for, then you're in trouble, because they have to be paid for. You have no way to pay for them. So just wanted to give the Christian view on the times that most people believe is coming upon us pretty quickly. So let me know what you think. Thank you.